How you know? Black with a bucket, I could be a vampire. And then with some run, bite your, and hear your song. Hold what you say, girl, bite your tongue. I'm ball out, I'm riding, I'm haunted, I won't say wanted, I'm in haunted house and hungry too, and vampires do exist.
New Orleans. The city was founded in 1718 and acquired by the United States from France in the Louisiana Purchase of 1803. It's an extraordinary city that looks and feels unlike any other place in America. People visit in order to view the architecture, walk through the French Quarter, ride the streetcar, eat unique foods, and party at Mardi Gras. Increasingly, people visit to view, dress up as, take tours about, and even celebrate vampires.
Bite her.
Bread. See what happens? Vampires are hotter than ever in the 21st century. They're featured in increasing amounts of books, films, and online games, and vampire subcultures are burgeoning. In New Orleans, it's actually difficult to avoid references to vampires, and of course, to the queen of vampire fiction, Anne Rice. Behind me is the former Garden District residence of Anne Rice. It's famous to Rice fans because she used it as the fictitious home of the Mayfair witches in her novels. Tour companies stop here all the time to point out the former Anne Rice house. And apparently, when she was still in residence, hundreds of fans would camp out here on a Sunday waiting for Rice to emerge on her way to church. Although Rice has temporarily left vampire fiction, her fans are still loyal. Each year, the Anne Rice Vampire Lestat fan club holds their famous Vampire Ball. It is preceded by a wine tasting event. Sadly, I didn't get the message that costumes were optional for the event.
I got new appreciation for women who wear corsets, because this is not nice, let me tell you.
We don't drink more than we work. Business is strictly business. Y'all come here to have a good night, we're gonna let y'all have a good night. Great city in New Orleans,
Anne Rice fans, vampire literature fans, subcultural vampires, and even interested tourists were at the ball. The theme this year was the witching hour, which had no bearing on the amount of fangs that were present. Those portraying the elegant undead tend to go all out for the ball, creating costumes that dazzle in their originality, detail, and sense of fun.
So what are you doing out here in New Orleans?
Oh, we do an annual convention that I came down for at KCON, and of course I had to hit the ball.
Oh yes.
If you're coming this time of year, you have to be here.
Now can you tell me what you think it is about vampires that attracts your fans so much?
Everything. I think it's the idea of sleep all day, party all night, and look great forever.
That's pretty basic. But you twisted the vampire. How did you create the vampire in your own,
That was an interesting little quirk of fate. At the time, I was a reporter for a local paper, and we were doing articles on the origins of different Halloween myths, and I was also taking a Greek mythology class. And as I was talking to my professor about vampirism going back to ancient Greece, the idea for the Dark Hunters just snapped into place. My mother was a huge horror fan, and I was raised around vampires and werewolves. My mother used to love to scare every kid in the neighborhood.
I thought I'd try the perfume out in the French Quarter to see if any vampires were attracted. Apparently, large amounts amounts of alcohol eliminate the effects of vampire attracting perfume. If the real vampires wouldn't come to me, I'd go to them.
I was always into the weird stuff, but I was the normal kid. I was the khaki wearing sports kid in high school and college, but you know, playing football and soccer and hockey and lacrosse and all that stuff. But I had a dark streak in me. Then in 1992, I was in a Dungeons and Dragons, and I went to this one D&D live action game, and this girl says, "I'm going to play this game called Vampire." I was like, "What's this about?" And we were seeing, then she killed my character. Like,
So are you part of the subculture?
I guess I'm part of the subculture. Yep, if there's an underground seedy club in your neighborhood, I'm probably playing there at some point this year. You know how it is.
What are some of the themes in the things that you write?
I guess, you know, love, loss, boy meets girl, boy kills girl, you know, things like that. I don't know. You have to listen.
Normal stuff.
A little, yeah, normal stuff.
I need to make sure you understand the kind of tour we're going to be going on, because absolutely what we're going on is nothing like a Halloween spook house. Okay, nobody's jumping out with masks and knives to try and frighten you on the way. If that actually did happen, though, literally over centuries, we've gotten a French phrase to describe that kind of occurrence. We now call that a mugging. Now, this tour is a 2-hour walking tour that takes you to the end of the city that as visitors you're the least likely to see. We're going downriver. Downriver is the oldest, darkest, quietest end of the city. It's the part that's least changed by time, which is pretty cool. Because when you're walking up and down the streets downriver, you have an idea of what it's like to actually live in New Orleans. And that's worth experiencing. But quite honestly, some of the strangest and really most unpleasant things ever in this city's history have happened in that direction. Most savage murders, vicious tortures, a little cannibalism for light comedy relief.
Vampires really don't change that much.
Yeah.
They really don't. I mean, we have the Sumerians and the oldest written words of mankind talking about vampires and warning them. And the vampires they're talking about are pretty much the same vampires we're talking about today. It's unusual. It's interesting. I mean, 6 of 7 continents have vampire legends native to them. So when the Europeans arrived in Australia and the New World, they found vampire legends. So what does that mean? It means it's possibly mankind's oldest folklore. Common folklore. I was always a very, very spooky child. I played off as a joke in the tour. I mean, I literally remember being 4 years old and sitting at church with my grandmother, with my feet dangling over the edge of the pew, and thinking, I can hardly wait till church is over so I can skip Sunday school and hang out in the graveyard. I wouldn't be as good as what I'm talking about if there weren't things here that make me really... There are things that only the tour guides talk about, only amongst each other, and only when we're really drinking a lot. And what I told you that happened to me was the least of them. Things that cannot be explained, except for in certain ways that we are best equipped to, and we don't like to talk about that. And that's the kind of city we're in. Things happen down at this end of the city. They do. They always have. If you'd ask me straight up, I would say there's something really wrong with the city. The Indians told the French, no matter what you do, don't build a city here, you'll regret it. And the French said, we are not superstitious, we are Catholics. And so they built a city.
You love it here.
You know why, though? The dead